Hey everyone, as promised, I'm doing your chicken curry step-by-step video. Hopefully it will work out really well, and I'd love to see your end results as well after you've watched the video. I'm gonna let the pan heat up for a few seconds. So I'm just gonna put it on a high heat just to let the pan heat up. In goes 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And the reason why I let the pan heat up is just because the oil can go a little bit further when the pan's heated. And then I'm going to put a knob of butter in. But again, the butter's optional. You can put more olive oil in if you want. And just while that's doing, I'm going to throw a couple of cinnamon sticks in, just to give that a nice little aroma and a bit of a flavouring to the onions. And just as that is melting away, I'm going to put, so in here is 3 medium onions, chopped and whizzed in a little whizzer. You can finely dice them if you like. And then just stir the onions in like that. I've got a bit of a big chunk on there, just take that out. And then put the pan back on a really low heat. And then what you need to do is you need to cook the onions and let the onions go brown for a good, probably about 25 minutes to half an hour. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let these onions cook now. Just keep an eye on them and I'll be back in 40 minutes. Right guys, the onions are now done. So they should look like this. Sort of nice and brown, sort of caramelized. And that's the whole art of making the curry, is that the onions really do need to be brown. Now here is 3 chopped up tomatoes going in. And here is half a tin of tomatoes, but I'm only going to put half in for now. Just give it a good stir. Make sure the onions are covered. Tomatoes. The reason why I just put half in, because I just didn't want it to be too tomatoey. So I'm just going to let them cook and then soften. And then I may need to add that extra half of the rest of the tomatoes. Just going to let that cook for about 10 minutes. Just on a sort of medium-ish heat. Just to let the tomatoes go in before I put any of the spices in. Right, they should look like this now. So all the tomatoes should be all like mushed up. I'm going to add this in. If you like your curry a little bit more saucy, then maybe add it in. If you don't, then you don't have to add it in. You can just wait until I go through the spice bit now. So just add that in. And just let that again cook for another 10 minutes. Basically, the reason why I'm cooking these tomatoes is I want the oil and the butter to come up before I put all the spices in. So then we know that the tomatoes are cooked. Right, now this is what it should look like with the oil all coming to the top. So as you can see, there's oil here at the top. There. So the oil's starting to come to the top. Just give it a little stir. If you want the sauce to be a little more purified, then you can just add a quick whizzer to it. I like it slightly a bit more chunky, so it's entirely up to you. And as you can see the cinnamon still here. Right, now in here is 1.5 teaspoons of ground grape ginger, so fresh ginger that's been grinded, 1 teaspoon of fresh garlic, and 1 teaspoon of fresh green chilies. Again, You don't have to use a teaspoon. You can use, depending on your spice levels, you can really use a tiny bit, or you don't have to. This is a teaspoon and a little bit of salt. Again, it depends on your taste for salt. It's, I'd say about a quarter of a teaspoon of turmeric. Again, I use a lot more green chili than I do chili powder, so that's half a teaspoon of chili powder. That's 2 teaspoons of ground cumin and coriander powder mixed together. So we call that dana jiru. And then this is half a teaspoon of garam masala, which you can buy from the shops, but I have it made at home. So I'm just going to put all this in. Stir the spices all in properly. As you can see, the sauce is starting to get a bit more thicker. Some people like the sauce thick, some people like it a little bit thin. If you want it to be a little bit thin, you can just add a drop of water to it. But when you add the chicken in, the chicken releases water, so you shouldn't really need to add any water to this at the moment. But it's entirely up to you. So I'll just give it a really, really, really good mix. Because it's frozen chilies. Now again, just let that cook for about 10 minutes until the oil comes back on top. Right, it should be done now, the sauce. Yeah, it's starting to stick at the bottom now, as you can see. Thick. So I'm using a full whole chicken that I've had cut up from the butchers, but you guys can use chicken breast or thighs, or if you fancy using a full chicken, you can maybe go to a Indian butcher, halal butchers, and get it all chopped off, unless you know how to cut whole chicken. And then you're literally just stirring in this chicken into the sauce. I'm just going to let that cook now until the chicken's done. So as you can see, all the chicken's all coated in the sauce. And now I'm just going to let that cook for about 40 minutes-ish. I'll keep coming in and checking to see if it's doing okay. Right, as you can see now, as I was talking about the water coming on top, just going to give it a little stir. See, it started to build up the sauce. So let's see if this is done now. Ooh, looking good. Right, looks like it's all done. As you can see, it's quite saucy. It's getting a lot thicker. And you can just cut a piece of it of the chicken. See if it's done, and it's nicely done because it's all white. And there's your chicken curry, and all I do at the end is just add some of this. Just a hand, that's if you like it or not. Some people like it, some people don't, which is coriander. So I literally just put a handful of chopped coriander all over there, and there you go, the chicken curry. Enjoy, guys.